Hello, listeners. My name is Charles Scott. Here we are again this beautiful day out here, and I'm here with Charles Scott Jr.
Junior, how you guys doing today? As we see us every week. We're here to bring you information, like I said, not just on real estate, what's going on in the world, but like I said, the world affects real estate.
There's a lot of things going on, as we say every week. Again, I'm the owner-broker of Tri-State Realty. We've been in business for like 40 years, and we're here to talk about some of the things that are happening within the community, happening within the real estate market. And we touch on a little bit of the national and international news because, you know, they say all real estate is local, but everything that's happening right now affects the things that are happening locally because the world is sort of like pushed together. A lot of things are going on.
And I want to go back because people see us every week, but you heard that he said 40 years. That's a great achievement. I must say, because how often do you see a real estate agent that says 40 years that you can call? We'll pick the phone up. Unlike, you talk to a lot, I'm not saying other brokerages, but you get what they say AI, you get an answering service. We'll call you back, or press 2 if you want to sell your house. Well, you give us a call, we come to your house, we'll give you a personal CMA. And that's a free thing. That's a free product.
That's right. A lot of the things that are happening right now, when you talk about that, they're being pushed by the AI and computers and algorithms and getting to that, like there's companies out there, even real estate marketing companies, and they use a lot of this research and the algorithms, and they put all the information together. You may get letters in the mail. I'm sure many of you out there have been getting the letters. Do you want to sell your house? Do you want to sell your house? Call us.
And I will say, I bet that number they show you is never right, right? Because they don't know what's going on in your house. That algorithm is just an estimate. Maybe your house is unique. Maybe you have a jacuzzi tub, maybe a in-ground pool. And that's where we would come in because we bring that human factor to it where we're here in the market. We can give you definitely a good, accurate estimation what your house could be worth.
Yeah, I think I'll talk a little bit about that today because, I know everybody out there probably isn't one person that hasn't been getting a call or a letter and getting all of these letters, sell your house. And funny thing is that most of the people that are calling don't even live in the United States.
How about that? How about that? Yeah, they're calling you and they're in a whole different country.
Another country, and I always throw them off and I say, hey, what time is it? What time is it there?
Yeah.
I say, what city are you calling from? That sort of throws them off.
That throws them off.
So if they're calling you from 10,000 miles away and they're telling you what your house is worth on your street, and say, well, did you see the house? It's all based upon what they have sitting in front of them and the algorithms that they're using and the information that's been fed into their computers. So you really have to have someone come out and look at it. One of the services that we keep talking about over and over on this program is called the market analysis.
Yep.
That's where we actually come out, look at the property, compare it to other properties within the neighborhood, give you an idea of what the property is selling for. A lot of those algorithms, they're undervalued.
I was going to say that when it comes to Zillow, Redfin, and Trulia, all these websites, they're using, like I said, the algorithm, but they're not looking inside your house. They'll know exactly what you've done to the house. What improvements have you done to the house? They're looking at your neighbor's house, the house behind you, the house in front of you. What are they selling for if they did sell in the past? And the thing is, people look at that number and they may say, well, I feel like it should be higher. Or sometimes it should be lower. But if you want to get an accurate number, give us a call. And like I said, we'll come to your house. We'll see what's going on. And you'll say, wow, that's very informative. And like I would say, no pressure to sell your house. I recommend, I have a lot of clients, do a CMA at least every 3 to 5 months. Give me a call. I'll have it to you within 24 hours.
Well, some people, some of the people out there, they may want to do a refinance. Some of the people out there,
that's true.
They may be wanting to open up a business. They want to find out if they can, take equity out of their house. A lot of people just want to get an idea. They're curious as to, how much has my property gone up in value? What's it worth today? I know I've been paying all of this money into the property, and I've been reading all of these stories on the TV and newspaper. So, I just want to get an idea, Mr. Scott, how much do you think my house would sell for? Or what's the value of it? People do it for different reasons.
And also, what Zillow doesn't tell you, let's say they give you an estimate, a number. They don't tell you what you can do to increase that number. If they do, they're going to give you the wrong information. If we're at the house, and let's say we're at the house, we see, you want to do a renovation of this room. We'll say, why renovate this room when we go to the kitchen, change a few items out, increase the value easily right there. I've had customers that say, I want to repave my whole driveway. I'm like, well, it's not going to add any value to the house if we're going to sell. We're going to add other things that's going to be a lot less expensive than repaving the driveway.
Exactly. And then the other thing is you don't want to go and repave the driveway. Maybe you use the coverall to put on the tar and all of that just to make, its appearances. Everything, a lot of things has to do with appearances.
Yes.
Versus going in and having a construction company tear up the old concrete, putting down the dirt, repaving it. Let's say that costs you $30,000. It might increase the value by a couple of thousand. So
You're
is
not
it
gonna
worth it?
You're not going to recoup that 30 from the matter of a couple of weeks.
That's right. Why would you? And then, the problem being when people go spending a lot of money on their house, especially if they're going to sell it, it puts them in a box because now they're thinking, well, I got to get back all that money that I spent.
Correct.
So I have to go and charge a whole lot more money for my house. Now, that actually limits the amount of people that want to buy your house because now your market value has gone not that far up, but yet you've chased away a lot of the people that could have afforded your house.
Exactly, and they would have bought the house for that price without the driveway being paved. There's certain things, that's why you need to invite us over for a CMA meeting. We'll show you that you'll be amazed. Wow, for example, if you go in the kitchen and we see some appliances that are not stainless steel, well, this is one of our secrets. We'll recommend let's get a refurbished stainless steel stove, stainless steel fridge. That makes a big difference. Usually I work with a lot of clients in the kitchen, especially with couples. They see that kitchen that really shines, And you don't have to go all out and go to Home Depot and buy a new smart fridge. We have a lot of techniques that can help you out.
We can give you a lot of different ideas. What if the person that's buying your house does construction and he does paving? It can cost him maybe $1,500 to do the job, and you just spent $30,000. Now you want to say to him, "I just spent $30,000, so I'm going up by $30,000." He's looking at you like you're crazy. He's saying, "Well, I'm not giving you $30,000 for something that I could have done for $1,500."
Exactly.
So you got to be careful as to what you spend your money on when you're remodeling or fixing up your house. If you're looking to give it value, we're looking to give it value. It's just like if you've got a used car, well, you're not going to go put a new motor in there and then say to the buyer, well, hey, it's going to cost you $5,000 more for my used car because it has very low mileage. Matter of fact, I can just put a new motor in there. And he'll say, well, what was wrong with the other motor? Oh, it had, maybe 120,000 miles on it. So this one's a new one, but I want $5,000 more for the car, and you're only selling the car for $15,000. It doesn't make sense.
Exactly. And people don't realize, especially if you've been in the house for, I'll say, 20, 30 years, you may not realize some houses are fine as is. We're still in a little bit of a seller's market. We're at people that want to do this, do that, do that. I'm saying, honestly, just sell a house as is, and think about that $30,000 you would have spent to fix everything up. We could sell a house for, that would increase the house maybe like $15,000, $10,000.
Exactly. There's different values that we can suggest to you as far as even on the exterior of the house. Now, if you've got a lot of decaying paint and missing shingles, or it really looks kind of, sort of tough, you may want to side the house, put new siding on the property. Now, if everything looks great on the outside, the wood, and say you got wood shingles or whatever it may be, you may just want to have it painted. Everything is intact, put a nice coat of paint on there, put maybe a nice beige coat of paint on there to make the property shine. Maybe it's got I bought a house once, it looked like a barn. It was all red. I guess, people, they love the barn look, but it looked dreary, downcast. And then I took and I put like a nice light sky blue type finish and on the outside and painted it. It was like night and day. In other words, the property probably added about another $30,000 worth of value, and I spent $1,000 on paint. So you see, it's how you do it and how you make the property shine.
And I want to bring that up again because I was talking to someone earlier this week, and he was talking about his house and his value. And remember, you've been in your house for 25 years. You know what's broken. You know what doesn't work, et cetera, et cetera. And in your mind, you may think, oh, someone doesn't want to buy my house. I've been here for 25 years. Look at this. Look at this dump. When you don't realize, I got customers coming from New York. They'll look at your house and say, this is a mansion. We'll take it as is. Remember, as is means you can sell the house, and you are telling people, you're gonna find some issues with the house, but I'm not fixing them. And guess what? We're in a market. We're still in a market where we can sell the house as is, and the people are gonna fix that when they buy the house. When they close, it's up to them to fix those items.
Yeah.
So that's a great value to my sellers right now.
So, give us a call. We can come out, and it's worth the money. We don't charge, for one thing. There's no fee for doing any of that.
No.
I think back to a client that I had, and he bought a house, and there was always water around the house. It looked like he was on one of those, like
a swamp.
Swamp around the house. What is he called? The
Blue Lagoon.
Medieval days
Yeah,
when you had the knights in
alligator
shining
that's back here.
armor and the water river around the house. And every time I'd go over there, it'd be muddy, even if it wasn't raining. I'm thinking, oh, this is taking a lot of value away from this house with all of this mud around here. And I was thinking, well, hey, it must have been the soil or something.
Flood
and I kept
zone.
saying, what can we do to improve this? And come to find out, guess what? The guy had a washing machine, and the washing machine was not hooked up to the sewer system.
Nope.
The washing machine hose, he had upstairs was a ranch coming out of the kitchen window, and every time he used the washing machine, the water would just go through the window and come down onto the ground. And I'm thinking, and I said, why don't you hook this up to the sewer system? And he says, I didn't know that. He said, I bought the house like that, so I figured that's just the way it was. I said, no, I took him down into the basement and I said, look, here's your hose coming out the window. Here's your sewer system. Just run that hose from the wash machine and tie it into the sewer, and that eliminated the problem.
I remember that house.
Remember that?
Yeah, he changed that whole ecosystem. There was frogs in the backyard and cinder blocks to get to the house because
Right, he had cinder blocks.
Your feet would sink
because there was so much mud back there.
like quicksand.
He put cinder blocks on the ground to walk across the cinder blocks. After he changed everything around, the ground dried right up, and that added a whole lot of value to the property.
Yep.
Because now people buying the house they were thinking he was in a flood area with all of the water around the house.
Exactly.
And that's just an idea and that probably cost him all of maybe $50 to tie it in.
Exactly, and that's not much. Now that $50 repair fixed the whole outside of the house.
Fixed everything.
Dried everything up, which is great.
So I'm just saying, these are ideas that when we come out, we can look at your particular property and we can tell you, this is some of the things that you need to do to add the value to the property. Because when you live in a property, you get used to it.
Yep.
And you things that you may not even be aware of, or maybe you're aware of, and you just, because you're old school and you come from years ago in a house, when you bought a house, you may have carpeting throughout. And you may have just put new carpeting down because you're selling the house. People don't like carpeting.
Yeah, please give us a call before you do any major carpet changes or anything like that. I'll say definitely.
People do not like carpet. I mean, years ago, carpet companies were all over the place. I remember always seeing the ads from New York. Buy one room and get the other room half price.
Yeah.
Carpet this. We come out today. We can put carpeting all through your house. Now all you see is a whole lot of hardwood
You see
flooring
laminate,
trucks.
hardwood floors. That's all the rage right now. That's what we see right now. Now, for example, some people don't realize some of these houses, if your house is built, I'll say pre-1970, you may not realize underneath your carpet, you may have some gleaming hardwood floors waiting to be shined up,
Already there.
ready to go.
And that amazes me. Just think, years ago, all of the homes, or most of them, had hardwood floors, shiny, and the real hardwood.
Yes,
I
real
mean, thick
wood.
hardwood.
They don't make them like that no more.
Even if the wood underneath is a little soiled or stained, years ago that wood was thick, so you can just go get a sander and
Just take
sand
a layer
it
off.
down, and then the dust flies up, and then put a shellac on there, and now you got shiny hardwood floors. And the biggest expense might be the dumpster to get rid of the carpet.
Yeah, that's about it.
So there's, these are the ideas that we will give you. We say, do this, do that. There's certain things that you can do. I mean, if you got a room that's drafty, and it's kind of dark and dim, put up a ceiling fan with nice, beautiful lights. See, you know, I was amazed. Ceiling fans, they started at about $80. It's
Yeah.
not a lot of money for put a nice, bright ceiling fan up there, looking like a chandelier, and it helps with your heating and cooling costs. Plus, it brightens up the room. You know, it looks nice. So these are some of the little ideas that we can give you to put a lot of value in your
Yes.
house for a little bit of expense.
Yeah, now, I would say that those who also have inherited houses, I would say give us a call too, because people have inherited houses and they be like, well, we don't have money to fix up the house. Well, like been telling people, we're still in that market where you can tell we've had 2 houses this year we've sold where the furnace was not working. That's
right.
a essential part of the house. So if you think it's that bad, imagine this, the house had no heat and we're still able to sell it for a good amount of money, a good price.
A good amount of money.
Our customer was happy.
Yep, one was over there in what was it?
East Haven,
East Haven,
yeah.
the one over in East Haven, and that one, the owner, the previous owner, had taken the furnace all apart, never put it back together. All the
Exactly.
parts were laying on the floor, and the furnace did not work.
Exactly.
There was no heat.
I know there's a lot of our viewers out there that may, like I said, inherit a house or have a house where there's some major problems as far as the furnace is not working. Call us if you have a tarp in your house. Your house can still sell. Maybe there's a hole in the roof. Give us a call. I know there's been some major problems, and a lot of people don't have the money to fix these problems, and they feel like they're going to be trapped in the house. And also those who may going through list pendings, you know, those that have gotten behind in your mortgage. We're seeing that more and more. There's an answer for that too. We're getting a lot of people help there.
Exactly. Like you take, for example, usually a furnace, to replace the furnace might be about $8,000 or $10,000. And most people don't have $8,000 or $10,000 to put the furnace in there.
Nope.
And what's worse is the furnace company will come out and say, "Oh, we can finance that for you. Oh, it's $8,000 to $10,000. We can finance over the next 15 years. The total cost is going to cost you $25,000."
It's about
Now, a buyer can come along and say, you know, I got a furnace that we can purchase wholesale for about $3,000. And my buddy, he's an HVAC person, so he can get the license or the permit and put that in for $5,000. So if you're selling a property and it's worth, let's say, $300,000, you sell it for $295,000. They just take off the price, and they still can buy it.
I tell people don't realize real estate is negotiable. You negotiate, you know. You see those prices on Zillow, you'll see sometimes when the house closed, it closed for a different price. Sometimes higher, sometimes lower. So you do have a house and you think there's some problems in your house, give us a call and we'll let you know if it's a problem. In this market, we're still in a great market where these houses can still sell even though they may not have the essential mechanics.
Now, you were just talking about if you inherit a house. One of the things that we're finding, like I said, we're doing a lot of is the probate situation.
Yes.
So if you've got a property out there, and unfortunately if the mother or father passes away or a family member passes away, and now all of a sudden you find out that you're in charge of that house. You just got a house. What do you do with the house now? Do you rent the house out? Or do you sell the particular house? Now,
Or, third option, some people don't realize this, they've inherited houses and then realize there's a reverse mortgage on the house now. That's a real sticky situation that we have a lot of experience in. You give us a call if you've seen that.
yeah, reverse mortgage is where the person who owned the house, maybe they were having trouble making mortgage payments, maybe they were retired, maybe they needed money and they have the house paid for, but yet they still don't have any money. So they put a mortgage on the house, which means that the bank will give them money, forward them some money, and they'll pay it back just like if they went and borrowed money on a credit card. In other words, the mortgage is put on the house new, the other people get the money, and then they pay it back over a period of time. Or either they give them an income. Every single month they give the people money. So it's a win-win situation for an elderly person or an older person.
Yeah, they get access to the equity, live their life, but when they do pass away, they're not. There are some options where if the heirs can either pay off the reverse mortgage company, or the option is sell the house. But the company's goal is either to get the money back or acquire the house as the asset.
So now you have a property that, what do you do with this particular property that you have? So, you know.
Or how about this? Where do you begin? Mama didn't tell us anything. We just found out about this reverse mortgage.
That's usually the situation.
And they're not talking to me because they want to talk to my mom or the representative of her estate. Yeah.
That's usually the situation. And what we find is that most of the time when you have a property where one of the senior members passes away, it passes down to the children or to the heirs. Now, what you run into is, let's say you got 5 brothers and sisters. Now you got 5 brothers and sisters, and now usually what will happen is one person is put in charge of, taking care of the probate and, selling the house or even keeping the house. So now here's the thing. You ever try and get 5 people to agree
on one thing?
To agree to the same thing?
Exactly.
Especially family members. So now you got one person says, oh, you know what? That was my mama's house. I want to keep it in the family. I don't want to sell the house. Then you got the other person that says, well, I want to sell the house. Then you got the other person that says, well, I want to live in the house.
How about that?
Or maybe that person's already living in the house.
Exactly.
And then you got another person that says, well, I want to buy it myself. So you got all these different opinions. I'll give you a plus and minus on all of that situation. If the person that's living there decides that they want to live there, then the other 4 members are feeling like, hey, we're getting cheated because that person's living rent-free.
Rent-free in mama's house.
And it's worth money, and we're not getting any money. Or if they're getting money, they feel as though usually they're not getting enough money.
Exactly.
They're like, okay, you want to give us $800 a month rent. Split up 5 ways or 4 ways, that's $200 a piece. Well, if we rented it to a stranger on the market, we might get $3,000 a month. So we feel as though you're not paying enough rent. So therefore, we feel like we're getting cheated. Now, the other person may say, well, I want the money right now. In other words, you may rent the house for the next 25, 30 years, and I won't even be around. So I want it sold so I can get the money right now. So I want to sell the house.
Now, when this comes to, we get situations like this, we're not financial advisors, we tell you that earlier, but we have a network. We have professionals who specialize in probate.
Exactly.
And we can connect you to them, and they see this all the time. They know exactly what to do and get you on the right path to see especially with reverse mortgages.
Especially. But when it comes to probate or situations like that, like I said, it's hard to get 5 people to agree because you got to have all the people agree. You can't just say, well, okay, you can have part of the house, you can live in the house, you can sell the house. Everybody's got to agree as to what you're going to do with a particular property. So therefore, usually it always ends up in a situation where the house gets sold, because that's the only fair way in some situations. You sell the house for the most that you can get, and then you share the money. If someone wants to buy a house, then they've got money to go buy their own house. If someone wants income, they got the income. If the other person who wanted to live in the house, well, he's got money, he can go out and rent an apartment. So usually it happens to a situation where you end up selling the house and the money gets split up between the family members.
Now, I also want to mention that some people might know about the reverse mortgage, but they may feel secure because they said, well, my mom quitclaimed it to me before she passed. The mortgage is going to see it's in my name now, and they're going to back off or put a lien on the house. They don't realize that's not how it works. Give us a call. We'll explain why. We've had people call and say, I'm all set. I quitclaimed it before the person passed away, but not the case.
Another situation that we are experienced in and we do is that's a divorce situation.
Yes.
Let's say, for example, you got a divorce situation. Say you have a husband and a wife. They bought the house for $100,000. Now the house is worth, let's say, $400,000. The wife is getting a divorce. The husband is getting a divorce. They're in agreement with that. And now they have the house that has a lot of equity in the property. And the wife says, well, I don't want to sell the house. So therefore, now the husband's saying, well, how am I going to get what's due me in the equity in the property? Or just the other way around. The wife may want to sell the house and the husband may say, well, I don't want to sell the house.
Exactly.
So, if you're not getting along to begin with, it's kind of, unusual when people get along. It's usually financial in the first place.
Exactly.
So, and one way of doing it is if let's say the house is worth 400,000, you only owe 100. That means there's $300,000 of equity.
Exactly.
That means the house is, after it's sold, there's $300,000 left over. So one thing that can happen is one person can buy out the other person. You can say, well, okay, I'm going to give you $150,000, which is your half of the $300,000, and I'm going to keep the house. Problem with that is most people don't have $150,000 laying
I wanted
around.
to mention also those who have property that may have added a spouse, a child, or anybody who they know to the deed. Remember, they own this just as much as that house as you now. You cannot force them off that deed. Even though you got the mortgage in your name, they own half the house, 50-50, just as much as you.
Right. So in a situation like that, it's hard to come up with the money to buy the other person out. So invariably what usually happens is that, or one person can refinance the house if they're able to, and take on the whole mortgage. And then, there again, you need an attorney. It's always, we're not attorneys, but you need an attorney,
give us a call, we can put you in the
probate,
right
whatever it may
position.
be, that can figure out your situation. But where we come into the picture is that, we're called to come out and give an idea of what the value of the property may be. You're going to need that for divorce court anyway. And if you sell the house, then everybody splits up the money and they go their own private way.
Exactly.
I've had situations in a divorce situation where they sell the house, the husband goes out and buys his house, the wife goes out and buys her own house, and they got use of the equity, and they're fine with that because they're able to sell the property. So I'm just saying that if that's a situation that you have, you want us to come out, give you an idea what the value of the property is, and because of a divorce situation, because of a probate situation, or whatever, and we even do some situations where it comes to bankruptcy.
Yes.
Some people file for bankruptcy.
If you have any, I'll say bankruptcy or foreclosure, Mr. Cooper letters, I was going to mention that also.
Yeah, and they require a CMA, a competitive market analysis. They need to know if there's any equity in the house. So these are all situations. Again, we're not attorneys, but you need to get an attorney to give you legal advice. But where we come into the picture is at the end, we come in, or at the beginning, we come in to give you the value of your property, so you'll know what it is where you stand. You might, after you find out what you're getting or whatever, you might not get a divorce.
I was going to say that. Also, you might find out, wow, that really is worth that much. But remember, it's worth that much at that moment. People say, okay, you did CMA for me last June, Mr. Scott. It's been a year and a half, I'm ready to sell. That price may not be here anymore. Might have gone up, might have gone down. But like I said, things change, and time is of the essence.
Okay, so again, that was a lot of information to decipher. You can give us a call. You see the telephone number right there, for a private consultation, no cost,
like I
no
said,
fees.
we pick up.
We pick up. So hopefully you'll pass this information on to your friends and to your relatives. Until next week, God bless.
Amen. I was thinking about that there.